Hi, I'm Marco. This is John. This is the Iron Grips podcast. Hope you enjoy it.
Only because it took me 3 goes last week.
Yeah, I know. The best one was probably the first one was. Yeah, I'm probably gonna use the last one though.
Yeah. I don't know. I expect that. That's what I want. I want real Mexico. I remember
real food.
when first time in the States. One of the first times in the States, and I've got this fucking obsession with like going and seeing. Probably because it's a foreigner, right? But going and seeing like the real parts of countries. Like if I go to New York, I was like, right, I want to go Brooklyn, I want to go the Bronx, I want to go. So I went to LA, so I went to New York, and I got a hostel in the Bronx, and I was like, not really fucking thinking. So I'll go there during the day. Knew it'd be a bit dodgy at night. I'd be careful, right? I'd go in the day. This is like years ago. This is about 20 years ago. No, not 20 years ago. What am I talking about? About 15 years ago. And it's the first time I've ever like asked for directions to this hostel, right? And this woman goes, it's about 4 blocks that way, whatever. And she says, you can get on the bus here though. I'm like, no. I'm pasty. I'm like pale. I've got a vest on, a backpack, shorts. So I'm blatantly a fucking tourist.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, get on the bus. And this is like a 60-odd-year-old like black woman. She's like, get on the bus.
Yep.
Like, there's not a white person to be seen. And it's the first time I actually in some way ever felt a minority. It was like, never really felt that before. Never understood. I was like, fucking hell. Anyway, I finally find the fucking hostel. And there's bars on the windows. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? So I go into the hostel. I put my stuff in the room. And then I go out for a little walk. And I'm like, okay, not too bad. I go back, I get some food, it goes dark. I look out the window and there's people on the street corners, there's motorbikes going up and down the street, there's the bins on fire, like it's like something out of a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll stay in tonight. I'll just read a book. I don't need to know what's around here. I've done the Bronx now. Get up in the morning, I'm like straight on the bus, fucking leave back to the middle of New York. I'm like, well, I went. That was about as far as I went. It's hilarious. I was like, okay, like stop doing stupid shit, John. It's not that important to be able to go, I went to the Bronx, because you didn't really. You ran into a hostel, stayed there, and fucking ran out again. Like what you think would be quite cool.
There's some dodgy parts of England though too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think like anywhere, I was having this conversation the other day about this sort of stuff. Like when you grow up in a, like what we call them in the UK is kind of like council estate type areas. When you're in that kind of area, you kind of know everybody. And back in my day, especially, I presume it's the same. Things don't change. You're very well looked after as long as you're part of that scene, right? So all the shit that goes on is generally on the outskirts of your little community, not necessarily in it. You don't rob from your own, right? So when you're in it, you're kind of like, well, see, it's that bad, but obviously you know what goes on the outskirts of it. So it's kind of like, when you move away from those kind of areas eventually, and you're like, okay, I don't want to go back into that kind of thing or that kind of sort of lifestyle, because then you're a foreigner in it. You're not part of it anymore.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town called Blackpool, initially, which is on the seaside. Not quite, Bondi Beach or, what we've got here in LA. It's like it was a famous old sort of seaside town in the UK. One of those kind of places that, like years and years ago, before people went on holiday abroad in the UK, you'd go to Blackpool. It became a seaside piss-up resort in the end, as such. I mean, people still took their families and stuff, but mostly it was hen parties and stag do's and all that kind of stuff. Just party weekends, football weekends. You just get people from everywhere.
Stag what?
Stag do is, I've had this before. I remember saying this at a wedding. What do you get? Like a bachelor party.
Okay. Oh, stag, like a
stag, yeah. So in the UK they call it stag do. I said this, I stood up and said at my brother's wedding, I was the best man, and I stood up in front of a bunch of Americans and said the same thing, and the whole room just looked at me. And some guy stood up and was like, basically called me out like in front of everybody. I mean, it's hard enough doing a best man speech as it is without someone going, what the fuck are you talking about? Luckily someone else chirped up and argued, like, we all know what you mean, it's okay. I was like, okay, my speech is over now, you've ruined it. Like, it's done. congratulations, sit down. So I grew up like this poor town basically. I don't really. My mum still lives there, so it's the only time I really go back. I've got a couple of friends that do their own thing there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a place like I know pretty much. I think once my mum passes, I'll probably never go back again. I've got no reason to. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing really there. It was a part of my life till when did I move to Manchester? I moved to Manchester when I was 29.
29. Well,
yeah.
So you spent a long
So I
time there.
spent quite a lot of time there. I went as far as you kind of could. Like I say, it was an old school, small sort of town. Not very. I say it sounds awful. I don't want to talk bad about the place, but it's just there's no real money there. Mm-hmm. You can make money. You can make dodgy money quite well. Depends what you want to go into there. But as far as my kind of career, which became the fitness industry, it just wasn't. It certainly wasn't going to get me where I kind of wanted to go. Yeah. Manchester became the start. I moved to a bigger city and more affluent kind of people and clientele and that kind of thing sort of took my career on. Yeah. Once I actually left Blackpool. Well, yeah, kind of funny, fond memories as a kid growing up there. It's a great place to grow up as a kid. But yeah, like anything beyond as far as I don't have any regrets at all with any of that. But I would probably have. Had I known what was out there sooner, I would have probably left sooner. It just didn't cross my mind that early. I loved working in the fitness industry because I love working in the fitness industry. I didn't have a plan, didn't have a big career plan. I just wanted to work in the gym. So for me, as long as I was working in the gym, I was working in the gym.
Yeah.
And it was only when things like you got to a bit of a point where you're like, okay, I can't really take this any further. And personal training was starting to become a thing, but people didn't have any money really in Blackpool for personal training. Like you stay there doing personal training for the rest of your life and you're really not going to go anywhere. Yeah. So it's kind of having to move to the city and go to the bigger health clubs where personal training was becoming a bit of a thing, and it was the hourly rate was increasing, and people were actually starting to be able to make quite a good living doing that. So yeah, I started looking for jobs in Manchester. Got a job in Manchester
at a gym.
At a gym. I was quite lucky. I kind of got this job. I took in Blackpool. I kind of took myself up from like a fitness instructor, which is back what they were called back in the day, to like a fitness manager, yeah, and then like a fitness kind of like above an operations manager. I moved to another gym, which was like a big YMCA kind of complex that was being built, and I was part of setting all that up and setting up all the systems for the coaches to use and all that sort of stuff. But then there was kind of nowhere. I'd done all that, and I didn't know where to go with my career. That's actually when I went off to the States for a couple of months. So that was part of the story of going to New York, and I had this fucking like just backward goal of like, I'm just going to go and live in the US. I kind of just needed a break, to be honest. I'd hit a point where I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to quit my job, and I had about what I thought about maybe 3 months worth of money. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fucking crazy the shit you do when you're in your 20s, right? I'm just like, I wouldn't give up my job nowadays for anything less than like, I'd want like 5 years of money, where I didn't have to work. And that's quite a lot of money, especially living here. You're kind of like, okay, so that I could like spend some time. Back then I was like, fuck it, I've got 3 months, I'm going to go to the States. I got this summer job working as a lifeguard on the beach in New Jersey.
So Baywatch.
I think this was the fucking dream, right? It was nothing like Baywatch. Fucking nothing like Baywatch.
Did you know how to swim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got like my lifeguarding and all that shit certificates from the gyms, because the gyms I was working in back when I was young, they were all like old school sports centers to a certain degree. They got a gym in, but they also got a pool, and they'd got a sports hall and all this other stuff. So like proper prehistoric. It's fucking I go back so far, it's crazy.
So this was like 65?
Something like that.
68?
Very possibly. I mean, I actually don't know when I was born. I feel like I've been around that long and done that much stuff. I think I've done stuff in every era. So I go off to the States with this fucking, I'm going to be a lifeguard and I'll make something happen. So I go to New Jersey, of all places, and this is like back way before like the Jersey Shore or any of that shit ever happened. I know nothing about that lifestyle.
You brought the muscle.
Yeah, fucking. But anyway, I go to what was, I guess, is a place called Wildwood, right? And it's about an hour up the coast, I think, from the Jersey Shore. And again, it's basically another Blackpool. I'm like, fuck me, I've left Blackpool to go to the American version of Blackpool. It's like Atlantic City. It's like a shit Atlantic City, right? It's not even as good as Atlantic City. It's a step back from there. So it's got a boardwalk, and it's got obviously the beach, and it's got like amusement park stuff. I'm like, fuck me, that's Blackpool. Blackpool's exactly the same. So my big fucking dream, and I'm like, okay, the weather's a bit better, but everything else is the same. Anyway, I last all of 2 days as a lifeguard because the lifeguard manager person talked to me like a twat on the first couple of days about shifts, and I just walked out. So I was like, that's a good start. I had a slightly shorter fuse back then. Luckily, where I was staying with a bunch of students, and there's quite a few Irish students, there's quite a few sort of Brits there as well, and a few Americans. They all go out there for the summer to get work. They're all, in college and whatnot. So there's a few years younger than me. But it was a cheap place for me to stay whilst I was, in my dream, I'm looking for a job, trying to get something in the fitness industry. Got no fucking clue about visas and shit at this point. Didn't realise that actually what I was trying to do was actually impossible. But in my head, it was going to work. So I ended up quitting that. Luckily, a couple of the guys were like, look, we work on the door in this bar. Like, they'll take you on straight away. Just do a couple of nights on the door. So that was fun. Basically, just stamping people's hands. Like, are you 21? Yes, bang. Are you 21? Yes, bang. Bit of trouble here and there, but nothing really major. And what I was doing was basically just training all day, and then. From New Jersey, I was traveling. I went to Philadelphia, I went to New York, and I was just trying to go to different gyms, trying to see if I could find some work. And anyway, kind of, long story short, like 7 weeks later, I ran out of money and was like, right, okay, this ain't gonna work. I mean, I went through a phase of like, I got to the point where I was running out of money that much that I thought I was fucking Rocky Balboa. I was literally living on fucking eggs and rice, and I'd be like, literally like just putting the eggs in a fucking glass and be like, all right, there's my protein. I'll have some rice, fucking good, cheap, carbs. Anything that was cheap. And I thought, okay, right, fuck it, this ain't gonna work. So I'll call my mate, and this is going back like a payphone to go and put some fucking coins in a machine. Call my mate up, and I'm like, hey, how's things going? And I was like, look, I'm probably gonna come back in a few weeks. He's like, oh, what are you gonna do? I was like, I don't fucking know. Anyway, luckily he was like, look, he was working for this football kind of five-a-side place, and it had a gym. So he's like, look, we're looking for someone, to work in the gym. So look, if you come back, I'll hook you up. So I'll go back, work in the gym for a bit. And that was kind of my last job back in Blackpool. I'll go back, and I did it for about 5 or 6 months. But at that point, I was like, right, I can't live here any longer. I've got to move, go somewhere. So that's when the Manchester thing came out. I started looking for a job, and I found a job. I take not that I was on much money, but I basically, the only job they had was as a fitness instructor in LA Fitness. I was like, fuck it, I'll take it. I just want to get out.
LA Fitness?
Yeah, so not the US version of LA Fitness. So there's an LA Fitness brand in, yeah, exactly. It's all meant to be, right? So I moved to Manchester. I got my first gym in Manchester is LA Fitness, and it was a UK brand of LA Fitness. Yeah. There was about 30 gyms in the UK. It got famous because LA Fitness in Kensington was the gym that Princess Di got caught coming out of.
Oh, okay.
And this got famous in the papers because wow, Princess Di goes to a gym. Remarkable news. But anyway, so that gym kind of got a little bit famous because it was on the front page of a newspaper once. Obviously not the one in Manchester. So I go and I get a job as a fitness instructor, and this is how my career's gone a lot. I've always jumped in. I'm a bit of a doer. I'll take whatever if I see a means to an end. But as I guess you guys have seen a little bit, I'm kind of, if shit needs to be done, it'll get done. I walk in a room and I already know that I want to lead the room if possible. I won't step on people's toes, but if no one else is going to do it, I'll do it.
Maybe this is why we get along.
Yeah, so literally 3 weeks, the fitness manager that hired me left. And straight away, the general manager was like, look, I know you came in as an instructor, but look, we've seen your CV, we've seen what you've done, do you want to take over? So literally in 3 weeks I was managing the place, which was cool. And then from there I went through like the ranks to kind of operations manager. But when I got to operations and sort of GM of LA Fitness, I was walking around in a shirt and tie and shit at one point, and my friends that I hung out with, they were all PTs. And we're all kind of I was a bit older than them, but similar age group. They were all going out weekends, and they were like every 2 minutes, like, oh, we're off for a coffee. You want to come? We're off for some food, because like they do a session and fuck off. They do a session. Come on, I'm
You're
stuck
chained
there.
to the company.
I'm chained to the fucking computer desk, which anyone who knows anything about me knows I'm not good with computers. And I'm just like, okay, I've took the gym management, the health club management as far as go. It's not really what I want right now. And I have this conversation with a lot of up and coming coaches and trainers, is sort of careful what you wish for, and be honest when you get to a point where actually, because everyone thinks they want to be a manager. Everyone thinks that's what they want. I want to, I want progression. I want to grow with the company. I want this. It's like, but there's a time to enjoy your career. And I went that far that I was like, okay, not really enjoying this. I want to be training people. I don't want to skip being a coach for management at this point. So I had a conversation with the company and was very quick to be like, look, I want to be a PT. I don't want to manage anymore. And they were quite cool with me and went, okay. And they had in-house courses and a few bits and pieces to do. So I go off 4 days, learn about how to do their PT and all that sort of stuff. And I switched to PT, and then was PT'd there for quite a few years. Manchester, moved around a couple of gyms, obviously got involved with SBG and stuff like that, and was coaching there. So I started to develop, then I had freedom to kind of coach wherever, do different things. I started out doing, initially I was teaching classes, fitness classes, just to get by. Because when I switched to being a PT, I'd got no business. I'm like, well, I need some fucking money. And teaching classes was stable money, because you were like, well, if nothing else, I'm doing 10 or 12 classes a week, I get paid for that regardless. I don't have to rely on clients turning up, and then I can build my PT business around that. So I taught fucking spin, I was teaching body pump, I was teaching all sorts of shit. Yoga came later.
Okay.
So yoga came a bit later, but yes, yoga came about through more of my ex-partner was very much into yoga, and then she developed her own studio. That's where that came from. So we had a studio that we kind of created, and that's where that kind of interest came. I wouldn't say love. I think obviously I didn't love it because I'm not still doing it, but at the time I was drawn into the lifestyle, and we had a studio, and I did like teaching. I still like some of the philosophies too. I still like the benefits of it, but obviously once I became removed from that situation, it wasn't something that I continued to do like I do with fighting and lifting weights and all the other stuff.
I think there's a lot of adversity that people don't understand that pushes people forward. Because I meet people all the time that have cush life and didn't really face adversity the way that, because I grew up dirt poor, and every time there was an opportunity, I took it. And I've been in points of my career where I was making a lot of money doing private lessons, but I didn't have a lot of time for myself to grow. And I think you've kind of experienced that too, where you took a step back and you're like, wait a minute, I need to focus on myself a little bit. I think this is why we've done so much. Right? There's a certain category of people that are really driven, that no matter what is sort of pushed their way, they always find, like you said, a means to an end, which is paying the bills, but also at the same time you don't want to give up so many parts of yourself that you're not developing yourself, and you don't want to just sit in the same routine. I'm not the type of person that could sit at a desk all day. No. I just can't.
And I think, I spent years, and I'm still a bit like it. The things have got more serious. As you get older, things get more serious because things get more expensive. But I spent most of my life, probably up until I was 40, I didn't give a fuck about money. Money was not my driver. It still kind of isn't, other than now I just look at, okay, I still don't have much in the way of savings, right? I still don't. Now I do think about, well, what if when I retire, what am I actually gonna do? Whereas up until 40, that never really crossed my mind. I was happy. Time was more important to me. So I PT'd for a reason. I PT'd, one, because I loved it, but two, because it gave me time. So we'd have SBG back in Manchester, we'd have pro team at 10 o'clock in the morning till 12. Well, I could only do that every day if I could work around it, right? So I'd go in the gym, I'd do a couple of sessions, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever, till 8, get a bit of breakfast, head over to SBG, we'd train till lunchtime. I'd head back to the gym and do some more PT. So my PT in the health clubs allowed me to kind of fund my lifestyle. Didn't fund much else, just about paid the bills. but I didn't care because again, my weekends, back then were like, we jumped in a car, we were off to some, fight show in the middle of nowhere, with some young guy on, the small hall shows and whatnot. I didn't really do a lot. I never have. I had obviously plenty of phases when I was younger of going out and partying at weekends, and I've blown more money than I care to admit on that stuff. But other than that, I'm not into buying expensive clothes.
Yeah.
I'm not into watches. I'm not into things that a lot of people spend their money on. If I look at the things that I've wasted my money on, then a lot of it is either fun related, or seemed to be fun related at the time, or training and more sort of experience based, right? So I never really needed any money. But what started to happen when I decided to move to Hong Kong, that kind of last year, I was moving more and more into coaching at SBG, and I was doing a lot of stuff with the fighters, and especially the younger fighters, and trying to grow my personal training and stuff out of there. But it was tough, because we all know this, there's not a lot of money in it, and you do it because you love it. And I didn't ever want it to become about money.
Yeah.
I still don't. The fight world stuff to me, and the coaching and all that sort of stuff, I'm still at a point where I want my day job to fund me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right. My most enjoyable times coaching, whether it was SBG Manchester, I did quite a bit in Australia. I think I taught at least two times a week, maybe three for Ben. But it wasn't. I wasn't there for the money. I was there because I wanted to do it. So I set a couple of classes. I'm like, I'll come and help out my day job. I can finish my day job at like 5, and I'll head over and coach through because I loved it. I knew I wanted to be there because I wasn't there for any other reason. And my day job funded me to be able to do it, to just purely do it for the love of doing it.
Yeah.
And that's when I've enjoyed my coaching the most. And that is what's kind of spurred me on a little bit with where hybrid is. Hybrid's my business. Hybrid, I want to make money. But I actually, if I'm totally honest, I want that to make money to go into doing something that's more of a passion project, a gym. This is daydream land, but if I was ever in a position to be financially comfortable enough, and look, it'd have to happen soon, I'm not getting any younger, but whereby I could you could almost run a gym and not charge. That'd be like my fucking dream. It sounds crazy, and it's most likely never ever going to happen, but you're like, look, I don't want this world for me to be about money, because this is going to sound awful, but I almost love being around it, and I love helping people in that way so much that I don't want it to be about, I'm only here because I need to get paid.
Yeah.
And that would never be it. I've never done what I do for the money to a certain degree, but it's what's held me back from going all in to a certain degree on a fight or an MMA gym, because I know how hard work it is for a start. And I don't want it to become that I'm kind of like, I love what I do, but I'm stressed out trying to pay the bills whilst loving what I'm doing, because that's what was happening in Manchester before I left. The decision to leave was really hard, because just to leave SBG and to leave Carl and to leave what we kind of had going on, I found very difficult. But I hit a wall. I hit a wall financially, and I hit a wall where I was like, I can't keep living like, a 20-year-old student, kind of, just going sort of almost, I think the term's like hand to mouth, getting cash, paying my bills, getting some food, getting cash, and there's this circle of never having any money. So I started looking, I've got a lot of experience obviously, in the industry, and I was kind of like, I come across a Facebook post one morning for a company that wanted a fitness manager, a personal training manager in Hong Kong. Never really didn't know fuck all about Hong Kong.
You'd already been in Australia at this point?
No, Australia came after. So
okay.
Hong Kong, I people still ask me about how that sort of came about and what I knew going into that, and I knew very little. So I saw the opportunity, and I just sent a quick message back saying, hey, this sounds interesting, I might be interested in this. And a very well known personal training company globally, and I didn't know that much about them actually when I applied, but once I told a few people who I'd applied to and what the job role was, people were like, fuck, you applied to those guys, like they're like the best of the best, and was an amazing company to work for, especially from a learning curve and process of how a real personal training business actually runs. It's really easy to think you understand the personal training business. Freelance trainers who train a few people are not really running a business. They think they are, but it's like, you're not running a business. You haven't got bricks and mortar. It's not the same. Trust me. And now I've been in it for the last 3 years, running an actual business. You're like, okay, I was never running a business back then. I was just swapping a bit of time for money and not paying taxes. You know?
No, he was paying taxes.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Paying taxes.
That's in the UK. That's in the UK. But anyway,
the Queen's gonna write you a letter.
I know. Tell me about it. I've got to be careful what I say. Hopefully, no one's watching this episode. We'll be right. So that and anyway, that I went from interviews, and that progressed very quickly to like, you've got the job, and I had to make a very quick decision on, right, okay. They sent me the offer. And you know, Hong Kong's I didn't know much about Hong Kong, but it's obviously a very affluent place. There's a lot of money there. You can make very good money there. I now understand why people go to Hong Kong and stay there for so long, because taxes are very low, and people go with a couple of years plan, and then end up staying for like 10 years longer, because you can doing most jobs that you would do back in your own country. That's why there's a lot of Australians there, a lot of Americans, a lot of Brits, because if you go back to your own country to do the same job, you probably only earn half the money, albeit it's expensive to live there. If you're not out, luckily I went, you know, like I say, I went at 39, 40, so I didn't go there to party. I went there because I finally kind of had a goal of, I need to make some money. It's the first time in my life I've ever had that agenda, because I got the offer financially, and looking back at where I'm kind of at now, it wasn't that much, but it was way more than I was earning in the UK.
Yeah.
Like substantially more money, whereby even though my cost of living from apartment and things was quite expensive in Hong Kong, something I wasn't used to. Like the first apartment I got in Hong Kong, and for the amount of money it cost compared to what I was in Manchester, I was like living in an apartment about this big, about this fucking square. Couldn't turn around in the shower, and I'm like, you want how much a month for this? Like, no, I've since travelled a lot, and kind of now I'm like, okay, I get it. Space is a commodity in Hong Kong, but I was just, I nearly had a heart attack. I was like, fuck me.
You're also twice the size of people that are.
It didn't help with the small apartments, but so I kind of like, I was a bit shocked at that, but luckily I didn't spend any money. So my money went in my account, and I just, for the first time in my life, I was seeing it build up, like quickly. Which was just a blessing for me in that way, because it was kind of like, fucking hell, finally I've got some money, finally I've got some savings to do things. So I was 2 years in Hong Kong saving, and then an opportunity came up with the same company to go and open. They were looking to open a gym in Australia, Sydney, and I was like, literally, when I had my interviews back at the beginning, that was part of the. I never wanted to go Hong Kong, so Hong Kong wasn't my future. Hong Kong was a stepping stone. Part of the interview was the company was growing and developing and looking to do more countries, and Australia got mentioned in a few of them. And I said, look, that would be my goal. And so the goal was go and do a good job in Hong Kong, and then potentially the world could be your oyster, because we're going to be opening more and more gyms. This company now has like 20 odd gyms around the world. I think it had about five when I started, maybe 6. So so Australia came about, which I loved. Like, that was like kind of the dream. Again, these things are just somehow fall into place. I'd obviously, although my old boss would probably not say so now, but at the time I'd obviously done a good enough job to be sent out to Sydney. So I go to Sydney, and we opened the gym there, which was great, and good experience of actually getting the gym open, hiring a bunch of trainers, getting them busy. So that taught me even more about doing things almost from scratch. I still had the big company behind me, don't get me wrong. So I mean, their marketing, everyone knew who they kind of were, so it brought people in straight away. So I didn't really have to worry about building the business as such. I just had to kind of do the sales, train up the trainers, get the trainers in, and get the numbers up and let the business kind of grow from there. I loved it there. That's when SBG Australia kind of came about.
Okay, I see.
Because I got there, and I'd been there, I don't know, not long, a month or so, and I'm Googling jiu-jitsu places, starting to try and find somewhere to train. And SBG Australia came up. Now, fucking Australia's a big place,
Yeah.
right? So it's a bit like, okay, SPG, where is it? So then it's like, oh, it's in Sydney. I'm like, okay, well, that narrows it down, but Sydney's a big place. Anyway, I find out it's like literally about 20 minutes on the train. And the gym I was working in was literally across the road from the train station. So I was like, that works. So I go over on a Saturday, I think it was. I didn't know the timetable, because again, SPGs don't put schedules and stuff on. In general, right?
No.
You kind of there's a I don't know whether it's a thing, but I know you have to call and it's a process, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not a phone call type of person. I'm rock up.
Yeah.
So I go over on a Saturday, and I think it might be like 12:31, and I bang. The door's closed, but I can hear something going on inside, so I bang on the door, and Ben Power, who runs SPG Australia, kind of opens the door, and he's like, "Hey, how can I help you?" kind of thing. So I said, "Hey, I'm John. I've just moved to Australia. I trained for many years at SPG Manchester under Carl, and I just saw that you had a place, so I came down to check it out." And he was like, "Oh, wow, great." So we have a bit of a chat, and then he's like, "I can't remember you," because Ben did a bit of a tour years ago, and he'd come in Manchester and trained and rolled a little bit while he was kind of visiting. So he kind of seemed to remember me. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And so many people came and went back then that you can't always remember everything.
Yeah.
So he said, "Oh yeah, no, obviously classes are finished for today, but come to class on Monday." So that kind of just went from there. And he'd only just opened. I didn't realise, bizarrely similar scenario to kind of how things happened here as far from a training point of view.
Yeah.
Literally I think he'd only been open a few months, and then he said, "Look, would you very open and very quick." I was surprised. I'm always quite humbled when people don't really ask to check or look what I'm capable of, and they go off my history. It's like, look, it's this much a month, but I've only just opened, and if you wanted to teach a couple of classes for me, that'd really help out. And I'll obviously not charge you for the subscription. I'd fucking love to coach. That's one thing I missed in Hong Kong. Having moved from Manchester and coaching at SBG all the time, to then going to Hong Kong, focusing on my career, but money as well, and really just kind of submersing myself in making sure that worked. I wasn't really training as much on the mat. I trained at a few different gyms in Hong Kong, and I ended up settling with GF Team and Versus, so that was my team in Hong Kong. Still have a lot of time for those guys. When I'm back there, I'll still go and train and roll. But I wasn't teaching. I was just going to train.
Yeah.
Time to train, and that was kind of it. So I was like, great. So anyway, he puts me on the schedule. I teach a couple of classes. I remember having the Friday night open mat was my night. Fucking loved that.
Yeah.
That was my time. I'd be very much who fuck's coming? Because Friday night was always that bit of hit and miss. So I'd always be who's coming and rolling?
There'd be 20 people
competition
or 2 people.
It was generally only there. It was never a lot, but I kind of tried to make it into a bit of a competition team type training session. So look, we'll drill a few things, but the goal is to come and roll. Is to come and work. And then I'd teach the MMA, I think, on a Monday night, because we split the class. So we'd have MMA on one side, and then jiu-jitsu. And it was just great to be around, seeing the business grow. I've not been in an environment even with SBG in Manchester. When I got involved, Carl had already got a massive reputation in Manchester. He'd always got a mat full of people and stuff. So that was already established. To watch Ben grow what he grew, and I look at now, I see pictures sometimes of how many people on the mat. It's fucking amazing from what it started as, and even just kind of giving myself time to even with training. There was an awful lot of white belts. There was a couple of other purple belts, which is what I was at the time, and not much. So we just purely focused on drilling, like we were talking about last time a little bit. How do you improve? And it was just a nice time to kind of spend some time. I probably grew my 18 months in Australia and training with Ben was probably one of my biggest BJJ growth spurts, without a doubt. His style of teaching and the understanding and just the vibe of the gym, and just where I was at with my journey at kind of going from purple towards brown, I really grew, because I focused on coaching. I focused on learning, actually starting to learn techniques properly. And not just bulldozing my way into everything.
People don't understand the importance of coaching and how much the coach actually gains from it.
A massive amount. And I noticed how much of it I kind of I've missed even the last few years. Just getting back into it in my own gym this week with all the boxing stuff, you kind of okay, I've missed this. So yeah, that was great, and I'd we talked about a few things like the company I was with in Australia. It was obviously the same company as Hong Kong, but I'd got no real aspirations of that necessarily being a lifelong thing. And me and Ben had a few conversations, and he was kind of like, what's your goal while you're in Oz, and we'd had these mini conversations about potentially he was thinking of doing a second gym at some point, and that my A is pricked up there. And I'm kind of like, well, okay, well, when that develops, this hopefully by then I would have got my visa and stuff, and I would have been in a position to
you knew about visas
to make
now.
some changes now. Yeah, now unfortunately the whole visa thing changed. Like Australia, I just remember reading in the paper. I got up one morning. My visa process had been in for like 6, 7, 8 months, and it's slow. And I was kind of, what's going on? Why have I not got it yet? And I was back and forth with the lawyer. And then in the paper one day, just kind of like, the government shuts down. I can't remember what the lettering of the visa was, but it was a type of visa that, anyway, it was the visa I was applying for. Australian government shuts down visas as of now. Like, no warning, no, if it's already in the process, it will get done, and then after that, you can't apply. So I phoned my lawyer and I'm like, is that going to affect me? And she was like, no, it shouldn't do, you should be fine. And I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, because I've read it and it doesn't sound good. No, you should be fine. Anyway, about a month later, she calls me up and she's like, yeah, you were right. This ain't going to work.
Oh, no.
And so then they go, look, unfortunately, there's only a couple of ways around this, and there's no way we can do it because we can't backtrack the application. It's already been seen. So if we backtrack it fully, it's just going to look like you're lying to get the visa, so you won't get it. So I'm like, okay, well, what can we do? And they were like, look, unfortunately, the way it works in Australia, it's not even just a paper trail. Like, they could have done a paper trail of show that you've got some ownership in the company, which I think the company would have done if it was just paperwork.
Yeah.
But I said, but in Australia, if you do that route, you have to show a means test. So in other words, you have to show the money trail. So if it was to make it look like I'd invested and put money in and it was my company or part of my company, then I'd have to prove it. It can't just be on paper, right? And some countries it's just a paper trail. So they were like, you've got no chance. So there was the option.
How long had you been there at that point?
I'd been there about 14 months. I ended up staying there about 18 in the end. So I didn't leave straight away because I was on a temporary visa. I had a bit longer on my 6-month temporary visa that I'd gotten at the time, another 6 months. And even the lawyer was kind of like, look, you can keep going probably for a while on 6-month temporaries. But sooner or later they'll shut it down. And I was just like, how old was I? Maybe I was 43. I was just at that point where like I really loved living in Australia. I loved living in Sydney. I loved what I had going on. And I was just like, you know what, staying here longer just to keep this going is just going to be painful because I'm always going to know I've got to leave. So I'd rather shut it down now and just, I called the company. I said, look, I know there's the option for me to do this and this, but I'm like, I don't want to. I'm like, I can't continue to build a life here knowing I can't stay. So obviously that was quite painful to kind of leave.
You were already a brown belt at this point?
No, still purple at that point. And it was painful to leave SPG, probably more than anything else, because kind of like fucking finally got my training home back. And I was like, fuck, is what it was. And so anyway, I leave, and the company I was with kind of had given me the option of coming out to LA. They'd also just hired Danny to become the gym manager in LA as well. So she was already here. She was already moving here. They put me in Singapore for a little stopgap, which I enjoyed for 3 or 4 months, where I was just helping out, educate the traders and kind of do things there.
Did you know Danny at this point?
Yeah, we'd been together. So the whole plan was for her to come and live in Australia with me.
Oh, I see.
But obviously we were waiting to get my visa first and then try and go from there. And she was already working for the company, so it was kind of a timing thing of like getting her to a point with what she'd created. She was creating like a meal prep company for that company. So once that was kind of done, she'd be in a position to hopefully ask to move on and come to Australia and do some work there. Anyway, like I said, that started to kind of fall through, and then there was the talk of me coming to help out in LA because they were just opening the gyms in LA, and then they wanted Danny to come over and manage. So I was like, okay, well, this is all teeing up nicely. Like it's really sad that I've got to leave Sydney, but LA is a pretty good second option, right? So I was kind of like, okay, this is good. This will work. I can at least get excited about where I'm going to go next, because I absolutely didn't want to. The other options were places like Singapore, and I'm like, I don't want to live there. I've done Hong Kong. I don't really want to continue living in Asia. It's just not my thing. But during all that time, that's when the hybrid talk started to kind of come in. So I've got a couple of old clients that one of them's a really good friend of mine. And there've been a lot of discussions whilst I was training over the years of like, if you were to do a gym, what kind of gym would you do? And it's kind of something I'm interested in doing, and just the usual client kind of talk. There's a lot of investment money in Hong Kong, and I'm one of them people that like, until there's money on the table, I'll have conversations, but I'm not really paying much attention. But I'm obviously going to say what kind of gym I'd do, and I'd have, look, if I was to do a gym, I'd kind of, I'd have MMA, I'd have some group training, I'd have personal training. I'd want to make it, a little bit about my training life is what I enjoy. I've learned a lot of fucking lessons about not doing a gym like that, because it's beautiful as it is. And it's an amazing environment to have the MMA going on one side, PT on another, and group class and all this. But it's an absolute fucking headache to manage because there's just too many moving parts. But it's worked, right? We've been successful, and we're moving into another space now in Hong Kong. So there's a second gym going to open up in Hong Kong, but hence the slight pivot in business model for LA. But anyway, back to kind of where I was in Singapore. I was about to kind of come to the US, but this offer came up, and I was kind of like to Danny. I was on the phone. Can't remember where Danny was. I don't know if she was still in Hong Kong at that point or she was already in LA, but I was in my apartment in Singapore, and I'm just like, they fucking really want me to get involved in this business. There's investment opportunity, there's ownership opportunity, but obviously it's in Hong Kong. And we've been living apart for quite a long time. I've promised that we're going to go and live in LA, and this is how things are going to go, right? So I said, look, I'm going to tell them, I want this. If they'll give me this, and I don't have to be there day to day, and I can manage a bit from distance with the goal of the business progressing beyond one gym, then I'm going to take it, because I'm.
This was hybrid?
This is hybrid.
Okay.
Then I'm going to take it. I'm going to get involved because this is an opportunity to do my own thing. This is an opportunity to create a gym that I want, how I want to do a gym. So anyway, I kind of tentatively kind of go back with, this is the deal. Thinking if they turn me down and then it's then fine. I've got my opportunity in LA anyway. It'll be all good. Anyway, obviously they say yes, and next then it's a whirlwind. Then it's just like, fuck, right, okay, you hand my notice in. We need you in Hong Kong like immediately, because they'd already signed the lease. Like my business partners were going ahead with this with or without me, which was also a bit of a okay. Not the end of the world, I'm sure I would have found other opportunities. I'm sure I would have ended up doing, a gym. But I was also like, okay, you're already there. You're showing me pictures. At least I was on Zoom looking at the space, like on a meeting with, just like fucking hell, this is surreal. Anyway, it all became very real, very quick. So I quit my job. I go to Hong Kong, and I spend 3 or 4 months in Hong Kong helping build the gym, get it set up, get to a point where I could leave and come to the US. And then I spent the first year lots of back and forth, just traveling, which was great. I actually really enjoyed that. I'd be in LA. When I was in LA for 3 or 4 weeks, it felt like I was kind of on holiday. I'd be training and fucking doing kind of what I want, having calls with Hong Kong and overseeing things, and a bit of stress here and there, but it was kind of a nice phase. And then obviously we started getting the LA gym set up. That becomes real. I did a lot of pricing everything up for an LA gym, so it's kind of like, right, what's it going to cost? Because I know that I can't, I can't just manage Hong Kong from distance. I don't feel the value. I need to have my own gym as well. In order for me to be valuable to this company longer term, the whole point of my role was to have multiple gyms. So I wanted to make that second gym happen as quick as possible. So I went away and just started looking at spaces, looking at rents, looking at what's it going to cost versus what it just cost in Hong Kong. So kind of go back and look, budget, it went over and all that sort of stuff. Never goes exactly to plan, right? And then COVID fucking hit. So, but I go back and go, look, it's going to cost this much to do a gym in LA. What do you think? Should we do it? And at the time, we were in a position where, yes, this is what we wanted to do. My business partners, investors were very much like, yep, go for it. Let's get it done. So I get the lease, we sign the lease, and then, like I say, the rest is kind of history this last year. A lot of people kind of know how this last 18 months has gone, and obviously now we're finally open. But that's semi in a nutshell, my journey. And like I said, the similarity of SPG SoCal and meeting Jon Bond, and then obviously yourself taking over this place was similar. I was kind of Googling, like, where am I going to train? And I'd gone to Orange a couple of times because they've got a GF team there.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a fucking drive. Ironically, I'll tell you about the drive when I first started training here. I'm saying it was a drive. I'd go in the day and it was like an hour there, an hour back. And again, this comes back down to my lifestyle when I was first back and forth here. It was kind of great. I was like a kid in LA. I'd drive.
Yeah.
I didn't, Danny would go to work for the day. Hong Kong would be asleep till 2:00 in the afternoon. So for me, I'm like, I've got my whole fucking morning. I'd get up, I'd respond to some emails and stuff that had come through in the night, or any issues that had come through the night from Hong Kong. But then I'd be like, look, I've got peace till 2 p.m. So I'd get up, I'd drive to the Wild Card, I'd go to Goals, I'd drive anywhere to go and do some jiu-jitsu. And I tried a few different places. I went to Crons for a bit. That was actually quite close.
That's cool.
But it was a bit, again, no offense to anything, but it's just a bit too regimented for me. It just wasn't, again, coming from an SBG, there's just this vibe. I went over to GF team. That was pretty cool. The guys there were good, but again, the drive was a bit too far. And then I did a little bit at Verdooms because that was the closest gym to me.
Cool.
In Santa Monica.
Yeah.
But they taught, and I love the guys there. Super chilled. It was a nice place to go and train and roll. But they also coached. It was a bit 10th Planet-y. It was like lots of moves. And again, I've said this before, like no offense to 10th Planet or anything, it's great. My brain just doesn't work like that. You try and get me to do 6-7 moves in a row and I'm gone, I'm lost. And I feel like a beginner and I've never done it, and it's my own ego, not enough time and patience to maybe learn that style of learning, but I just, it didn't really work for me. So all this time I'm playing around with different places, I'm Googling, and I kind of all of a sudden I come across, first one I came across was NorCal.
Yeah.
Fucking no idea about California to a certain degree. I know where San Francisco
Might
is.
as well be in a different country.
Yeah, exactly. So I know where San Francisco is, I know where San Diego is, I know where LA is. So I'm like, okay. So I go, and anytime I want to know where someone is, I just go Google Maps like I'm driving it.
Yeah.
And it come up like 600 and something kilometers away, and I'm like, that's a bit far to train it. Like, I want to train at SBG, and I'm even looking, I'm like, would it be doable if I went on a Saturday? Like 5-hour drive, 6 hours.
Jesus.
And then I'm like,
1 hour class.
I know, exactly. And then I'm like, right, stop being fucking stupid. That's not going to work. Right? And then luckily I seen the SoCal. Well, I'm like, Pasadena, man, that's not far. So that's how that came about. So same thing. I think maybe I messaged Jon Bond. I think I actually did send a message before I came for this one. And I kind of told him, who I was and where I trained. He's like, oh yeah, man, come down. So I don't know how long. Wasn't training long before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Maybe a month or so. It wasn't long.
I remember him telling me about you. He's like, I have this guy from SBG Manchester. He's a brown belt. He's going to be coming to class. You should get to class. You make sure you're there. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll be there.
Yeah, so it definitely wasn't long. Maybe a month or so. And then everything shut down. And then we didn't train for a little while. But then he messaged saying, oh, we've got the evening classes. There was just people coming and rolling for a bit. So I started doing that, and ironically, talking about the drive and stuff, like when I first started driving here, especially for the evening class, like 2 hours.
LA traffic.
In traffic. I was just like,
traffic.
But I was kind of like, I'd leave at 5, sit in the car, like 2 hours, get here, roll train. Like back was quick, it was fine. So I didn't mind. Yeah, because I still, that's how much, I prefer the vibe of an SBG, and this is what's so good about SBGs. I feel I've not been to them all, but I just feel it's the same everywhere. And obviously I'm fully invested and I'm fully bought into the way things are done at SBGs, and I've never had a bad experience. And the minute I walk in an SBG and I start training, I feel like I'm part of it. I feel like I'm part of the family straight away, and I'm always welcomed in. I know, don't get me wrong, I'm always welcomed into any jiu-jitsu gym I've kind of been to, so it's not like there's just a thing. And I think staying true to like the SBG roots from Manchester kind of means a lot to me, and I've been lucky.
Yeah.
With Ben opening his gym in Sydney at the right time for me, which was great, and then coming here and finding this was just about close enough for me to be like, okay, cool, I can make this work. Even if I'm only training a couple of times a week, I'd rather do that than go somewhere else every day.
Yeah.
And that's how things have kind of gone. So
now you're even closer.
Now I'm even closer, so it's not too bad. So yeah, it's like literally 10:50. This is why I keep getting here so early now. All of a sudden, I'm still I hate being late. I'm so bad at being late. I get places so early.
I'm the same.
And then I have to sit there, or I go and get a coffee, and I'm like, walking around until something opens, and it's like, just set off a bit later. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah. Danny goes mental. Because I'm like even now, it takes 20 minutes to get here. 20 minutes, right? And on a Saturday, new time this week, I remember.
Yeah, 11:30.
But on a Saturday, I'm literally like 10 to 9. I'm like, you ready? She's like, fucking talking about you. She's walking about like half awake, just got up, and I'm like, gotta go, training, come on. She's like, it takes 20 minutes to get there. There's nothing on the road, and I'm like, as always, we like 20 past 9, Sanchez Park. I'm like, I know, but I'd rather be early. It's part of the experience.
Yeah, because then you get to come in and talk to people. And
exactly. Although I do that some nights, and I come in and fucking yoga's on, so no one's talking, it's silent, and I'm like, come in for a chat.
You're just watching me stretch.
I've come in for some social stuff, and you're all being silent. I've got you lot doing yoga on one side, and you've got Pete
MMA on the other,
punching each other in the face on the other side. It's so surreal. You're like, this is great, yin yang.
Yeah, for real. Oh man, I'm glad that you found us, or it's kind of just happen chance that we became SBG. You moved here, and then COVID hit, and we happened to still be training, and then just all this stuff. It's been really good. And I think because I had put my own personal training on hold for 3 months when COVID first started, and you were still training here with Jon Bond.
Yeah.
And
that's what I mean. That's why when you first came in and you rolled in a mask and no one else was, I was like, this guy's a psycho.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to make of him. I'm like, nice guy, but I'm like, anyone that's willing to roll in a mask and not breathe for 5 minutes is dangerous.
I remember because I would show up first. I'm always first to show up, and then sometimes last to leave. And now it's always last to leave. Yeah. But like I would get here, I'd be cleaning, you'd walk in, you were very quiet, a little shy, and we'd kind of like strike up conversation. I just remember thinking like the first time we were actually gonna roll together, I'm like, this guy's a tank. He's just gonna absolutely smash me. I have no cardio. I haven't trained in 3 months, and it ended up being like super fun because Mike Moe was in the classes. You were in the classes. Jon Bond.
Yeah, it was only never 4 or 5 of us or so. You'd come quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was.
But it was like
a
white
fun little
belts
group. Yeah.
or high-ranking people.
Black.
Yeah. So it was really good training. Really
no, it was good, and I like it. It was good, like for me to come in because, like you say, there was John and Mike, so you kind of got that.
Yeah.
Every other round was a black belt, so you kind of, this is this is intense, and especially considering, like, I guess when I got here, my training had been consistent, but not major consistent. Every time I moved, there's this kind of lack of consistency, looking for a gym and stuff, and I don't get to train quite as much as I'd like to, but again, where I train is as important as how often. So if it means a little less training, but when I do train I'm here, then I'd rather have that than just look for somewhere where I can go every day just because it's convenient. It's not it's not really ever been what I'm about, and as much as I love jiu-jitsu, there are other things going on sometimes. So as long as I can, my goal is always the twice a week, and I always feel bad when I miss one. I'm terrible. It's like I feel guilty. I feel like I've always got to message you sometimes, like it's school. I'm like, oh Marco, I can't make it today. I'm like, why the fuck am I messaging? Like, it's class. You either turn up or you don't. But,
I know that if you don't make it to training, I know you're sitting there right before you go to sleep, like, fuck, I missed training.
Oh, terrible. It fucking drives me nuts. Like, and look, it's not like an everyday thing, but it's just I'm a routine-based person, and when my routine goes out the window, it annoys me.
So we just got Matt Parks back.
Yeah, he's doing Thursdays.
He's doing Thursday nights, and my wife was like, "Great, you got Matt back. You can finally come home early."
No, I'm training.
Yeah, I was like, "That's my coach."
What are you talking about?
What? No, I'm staying on Thursday to train.
I'm gutted. Thursday nights is my.
It's your business stuff.
It's
your meeting night.
I have meetings on a Thursday night.
But Matt might be switching to Mondays too.
Okay.
So it would be good for you to be in one of his classes.
Yeah, no, I'm done wrong. I love your class as well, but it's like when he's here as well, it's kind of like, there would be the mixture. Like if I can get to that class, and then a Saturday, we're all good. So at the moment, there's a lot going on with the new gym, and there's a lot of things that I have to be there for. If
anybody understands.
I know.
I get it. You're busy.
I just always feel bad. I'm like, why can't I do everything I want?
Yeah.
Why can I not run a business 12 hours a day and train twice a day? But not only train twice a day. Why can I not drive to Santa Monica in the morning and do boxing, drive to Pasadena later in the day and do my other training and run a business? What I don't understand. Why can I not do that?
What people don't get is like, oh, you're the boss now. You're the boss. When you're the boss, it means you have to do everything.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a good team, to be fair. Like I say, Danny's doing more than me in that way. Like from an hour's point of view, as far as being in the gym,
Yeah.
Danny's taking the brunt of that. So to be fair to her, she's been brilliant, and I know it's frustrating her a little bit not being able to train, but she kind of gets that her role as like the gym manager is definitely more of, okay, you're the hands-on, you need to be around.
Yeah.
But we've kind of been like, look, Saturdays, no matter what, we've rotated the gym, we're not there. You know, Saturdays is definitely our rolling day, and then if we can make another one, we make another one. I think for me, this first few weeks of being open is me getting at peace with me and accepting what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Because I want to please everybody. So I'm kind of like, I hate if I can't make my boxing session, I feel bad. For many different reasons, and not just because I'm missing my own training. I feel, I pay the guy, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't need my hourly rate kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I don't want to keep letting someone down. I train twice a week, and that's what we committed to.
It's a commitment. Yeah.
And here, same thing. I'm kind of like, I know I need to roll twice a week. My minimum is kind of twice a week. If I'm not rolling twice a week, I feel like I'm not training.
It was nice when you heard like 3-4 times a week.
I started getting like the Monday, Wednesday, Saturday was working well.
Yeah.
For a phase. But again, it's just sometimes the day gets away, and before you know it, you're like, fuck, it's 5:30. Like I say, now with classes. But like I say, I'm building a little bit of pain now. Hopefully build the business to a point where I don't need to be there so much. I'm in a fortunate position to right now of being able to hire a team to be there a lot. So it's only when there's if clients are going to want specifically me, or if I have to cover classes and things like that, there's no one else who can do it, especially on the boxing side, because that's where I'm not going. PT, not too worried. I've got plenty of coaches. They can do the work.
So the takeaway from like the conversation that we're having is,
But if you can come up with a takeaway from all the shit I just spoke about,
and
you're a better man than me. But
it's because like I mentioned earlier, is that we're very similar, and it's never truly been about money for me. Like even when I took over this place, one of the saddest things was that I felt like I was not necessarily losing a friendship, but that I was losing a best friend to distance, right?
Yeah.
And I knew once he moved, I would not talk to him every day. I went from seeing him every single day to then suddenly this person who's been a mentor and a role model and best friend is gone. Yeah. But also I told my wife selfishly, I'm not paying somebody else for jiu-jitsu. So I was like, I have to have a school, because I'm not going to give my money to another team or to another instructor that I have no relationship with. I was like, shit, I'm just going to get a small place and just keep having my students come in and roll that way, just selfishly, so I can keep doing the sport. Because it wasn't about, I want to make a bunch of money from this business. Like even when COVID first started and a bunch of people were losing their jobs and they couldn't afford to pay, I would tell them, still have your kids attend the online classes. Like, don't worry about it. And I told Jon Bond about this, because then when we kind of opened back up and people got jobs back, the first people back were the ones that I allowed to continue to train even when they had no money.
I've always had that mindset. I think there's always a speculator who can like think like, why are you doing it for free? Why are you doing this? Why? It's like, well, look, it'll either come back or it won't. Right. But I don't mind giving my time if I don't mind giving my time. That's what, when I'm doing things when it's not about the money and I'm enjoying it, it's like, look, like there's a time to pay the bills, don't get me wrong, I have to pay the bills, but it's not all about that. And if I've trained many people over the years who've started out paying and then come across some sort of hardship, and I've been like, look, I understand where you're at, I understand what's going on, just either pay me what you can, or I'm just gonna train you. I've had clients over the years I've had nervous breakdowns, I've had all sorts of things go wrong. I've had clients that have been millionaires and then end up with nothing. And I'm like, look, I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like, obviously. I've kind of had nothing, but I don't know what it's like to have had so much and then end up with nothing. But it's like, look, you know what, as long as I can afford it, so in other words, as long as I'm making some money elsewhere, whether it be, my other clients are paying my bills so that I can look after you for a bit longer, because, at the end of the day, you looked after me for a certain amount of time. Just because you had a lot of money, you didn't pay me more than anybody else, but at the same time, I appreciate you were paying me. And
the trust in the relationship.
Now is not the good. If you're doing stuff for the right reason, especially if someone has something like maybe a mental breakdown, or comes across hard times and things like that, you're like, okay, now is not the time for me to go because you build relationships with these people, and whether they become really good friends or not, or just really good acquaintances, you kind of like, they're a bit more than just a client. Like, that's how I've always run my business. I've had clients for a long time, especially when I was in Manchester, and kind of like, they become a bit more than just a client. So it's like, okay, if I really love what I'm doing, and I've trained you for a long time, and you've now come across some hardships, and I know you're being genuine, you're not just trying to get a freebie, you've got a problem, you've come to me, you're going to have to stop training with me. In my mindset is very much, okay, now is not the time to make it about money. Now is not the time for me to cut you off because you can't pay me. Because I know what a benefit training and exercise is to most individuals. It's their escape. It's their way of, hopefully not going under in their own lives, right? So I sometimes question, people's, and look, you can't do everything for nothing, don't get me wrong, I'm not naive, but I do sometimes question people's love for the industry they're in, when it's like, I'm only doing it if you pay me, no matter what. No matter what, it's a business, and I run it as a business, and if you don't pay me, I don't care. Because I'm kind of like, what kind of relationships are you building if you can just cut someone off that you've worked with or had on the mat for like 2 or 3 years? They come to you and go, look, I'm really sorry, but I've lost my job, I just can't afford to pay my subs anymore, and I'm going to have to stop training. I just, whether I'm either soft or I fucking really love what I'm doing, I don't know, but I ain't got the heart to go, okay, I'm sorry man, when you get back on your feet, I'll see you when you're back. Because I'm like, you know what, I've got 50 people paying subscriptions, right? And just come fucking train. Right? I don't want people to lose out on their exercise, their training, their release, whatever that might be. And I've done that multiple times. With personal training clients, with people that have come to class, whatever. I'm just like, if it's genuine and you're not just trying to get something for nothing, then I don't care.
You can tell.
Absolutely.
You've been doing
around you long enough. So I think you're onto something with that, and I think, like you say, that's I guess where we're similar. Like, I just can't be that much about the money.
And the way I see it too is, like, I have a few people here right now that lost jobs. One person in particular who's a really great training partner, awesome on the mats, is having trouble because of COVID getting a job. And I told them, the only thing I want from you in order to train here is your commitment to train, because he's a valuable training partner. So I want him to be here. I was like, the second that you stop showing up for class, that's it. You gotta start. Like, and then I was like, I understand you'll get me once you start making money again. I totally understand that. I've had like the parents in the beginning being like, oh, we've basically lost everything. It's hard for us to pay rent. I can't have my kids come to class, and I understand our classes aren't cheap, but you pay for the value of the class. I'm not a parent, I don't know what that's like, but I know what it's like to be the kid on the other end, growing up poor, that
being told you can't do something all of a sudden. And not really understanding why.
And
That's the thing. I don't think you understand why as a kid. I remember like I never understood why I couldn't have what I wanted at Christmas. I was like, what do you want for Christmas? I want that. Well, you're probably going to have to settle for that. Well, why? As I grew up and understood how much money my parents didn't earn, I was like, oh my God.
I appreciate what they got me then.
I'm like, okay, I was probably asking for a bit too much there. But I didn't understand money. I just assume your parents have got it. So if your kids pull yourself out of something like this, they don't maybe know why. Maybe they're a bit more savvy than I was as a kid, I don't know. But
that little bit of help can really help somebody through that mental breakdown, like you were saying. If it's somebody who's lost their job and this is what picked them up every day, why would I be like, hey, I'm gonna rip this away from you because you can't pay me? There's something more to jiu-jitsu and something more to the tribe, the family, than just money. Obviously, I need money because I got to pay for this facility.
Is it. I always have the same conversation. I say to people, look, like I say, this is not a naive conversation, but it's like the root of the reason you're really in this, that's when that comes out. You realise, like, look, of course it's a business. We have to make money. Everyone has to make some money. Unfortunately, it's the way the world fucking goes round, right? But it's not what got me into this. It's not why I do it. It's not why I help people. I don't help people just because you pay me. Now, don't get me wrong. My time is more valuable nowadays. So if you want to train with me, it is going to cost you more money. But not because I'm trying to sting you financially. It's not about you. It's about me and my time. I'm not doing it because I'm like, oh, I could charge $300 an hour. It's not about that. It's because I'm like, okay, first of all, let's see how much you really want me, or do you want to go with my other trainers? Because you can go with one of my other trainers for half the price, and that'd be just as good, right? Because my time, I've got so much shit on, I value my time that it's like, you know, I could take that money for that hour, or I could go and train.
Yep.
Right? And if I can go and train, I'll probably go and train. Because that's for me, and that's what I enjoy, and that time slot is what I want. Or you come to me and want to train at 7 p.m. It's like, it's not about you, and I'm not trying to. But if I'm gonna do it, it has to be worth it.
Yep.
But when it comes to the flip side of what you just discussed, like I said, at the end of the day, I can be completely the other way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I can look at one person and look at my time, and again, it's not about the individual, and be like, okay, if you want my time, you want my time at that time. That's really valuable to me. It's this much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know that person yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Versus someone who's been around and supported me potentially when I was down, paid me for sessions when I didn't have many clients, you know, paid me up front on occasion and gone, look, there's X amount for like the next 20 sessions or whatever.
Yep.
Just when I didn't have enough money to pay my rent, I'm like, fucking thank fuck for that. Blessing and a curse when you get lump sums, because then you go and blow it and you're back to square one. But
And you still owe them the time.
and you still, you still owe them all the sessions,
there.
right? So, you know, but I always like to try and pay it back in those ways. Those are the people that I kind of go, you know what, I do see that, and it's not because I devalue my time, it's not because I devalue myself as a coach or a trainer, but it's like, you know what, you trusted me when I was getting started, or you trusted me when I just opened this gym. You didn't know how good it was going to be. You didn't know what I was going to deliver. You didn't know whether I was going to be worth X amount per hour or whatever my membership is and things like that. But you trusted that and you paid it. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, I needed that money to pay my bills. And God, now I don't, and you're on hard times, I'm going to look after you.
Yep.
To the best of my ability.
Yeah.
You know, because I know it'll come back. And again, it's about, look, you know, I mean, I've always been in this for the health side, the mental health side of what exercise and training and jiu-jitsu and boxing and all these things has kind of given me. Mm-hmm. I know what it does for me mentally. If it was taken away from me, I really don't know how I'd fucking survive. I genuinely don't. I'm a nightmare when I've not trained. Like, again, you can ask Danny and probably anyone who's ever been around me, they're like, just go to the fucking gym, will you?
Yeah.
Like, I've gone on holiday, and I'm literally like, there's a moment where I start to get twitchy and edgy.
Yeah,
because I'm trying
the same.
And I hate it. I want to go and relax.
It's like Krisha says, I'm like a drug addict when I'm not. When I'm like,
and I don't know. I know it's coming. Yeah, I can feel it. And I'm just like, get to a point, because I gotta get up. Like, I'm not trained today. We're on holiday. We're gonna chill, just and then bye. And I might get myself through most, but then maybe 4 o'clock, I'm like,
I need to choke somebody. I need to wrestle.
And then just to get that, like I say, Danny's like, should be very much like, he's trying to be chill. Just fucking go and do something.
Yeah.
just disappear. Go. I know, like, just go and do it, because I know you'll be chilled when you come back.
Yeah.
Like, right, okay. So I know enough about myself, and that's why I plan training around any trip and holiday I go to, because I just know, like, look, you know what? It's what I do. It's what I enjoy. So if I need to get up, go and train, and then I can enjoy my day. I might be a little tireder, right? Well, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to enjoy my day a lot better. And if I enjoy my day better, you'll probably enjoy your day better, because you're not going to enjoy your day with me if we're trying to walk around and I'm fucking terrible at sightseeing. Because I'm looking at shit and I'm just going, you know, I'm more interested. I could be looking at the Eiffel Tower. But if there's a gym there, I'll be like, this is great. I wonder how much the fucking gym is to train. I need to take a quick workout.
Yeah.
I can go that quick. And I'm not a big, I wish I was better at some of this stuff, but I'm terrible. Like, I only need to see it for a few seconds. Like, I don't, this whole take it in, like, and I wish I was more like that, but like, we can drive hours to look at some big fucking canyon or something in the middle of nowhere. And I'm literally like, wow, this is amazing. Let's go and eat. I'm done. Yeah. And I wish I could slow down, because I do think, you know, there's a time to, like, look, just fucking sit and take shit in. Yeah. Spend a little bit more time appreciating some of this stuff while you can, because I don't, and I know I don't, and I know I'm bad with that sort of stuff. But I also know as you get older, you kind of like, okay, well, there's a certain amount of things that I don't buy into this working on yourself to a certain degree. I've been there, kind of done it a little. And this whole, people, you're saying that you need to change the way you look at this sort of stuff. You need to change this, you need to change this, and this, you have to create this balanced person within yourself. I'm like, bollocks. I'm not balanced. And I'm not going to be balanced, because my balance is, I enjoy this shit. I remember someone saying once, like, what do you read? Like, books on training, books on fighting. I read autobiographies on people that train or people that fight. They're like, yeah, but where's your release? How do you, take your mind off things and do different? I'm like,
yeah,
but it does relax me. I can't sit on a plane and read anymore. I fall asleep, but I used to. That is me. That is my time. I enjoy reading that stuff, but you get these people telling you, but no, you should read like a fiction novel. I'm not into fucking. I don't want to read about something that's not real. Because it doesn't relax me. I'm not into. I'll watch a movie. Movies relaxes me. I can watch movies about all sorts of different things, but again,
with
even
really
that drives
fighting.
Danny. I just like what I like. Yeah, no, it'll drive Danny mad because I'm just like I'm straight to the thrillers section.
Yeah,
I like comedies and shit. Don't get me wrong, and I watch them, but if I'm picking, I'm like, I want something that has me on the edge of my seat. It's like, well, are you not relaxed? I'm like, yes, but no, I want to see what comes next. Because I need the twist. I need it's just something that's in me. That's what I like. And instead of like people go to all these years, and I get it. A lot of people do it in their 30s. They go, and I did it a little. They learn a little bit about spirituality and they learn a little bit about balance, and they think they've got the whole fucking world figured out. What it interests me listening to this will be interesting in 10 years' time, right? I listen to a lot of podcasts nowadays, and it's really interesting listening to people's take on the world because everyone thinks they fucking know it all. And I know how old these people are. So, and especially in the fitness industry, so they're around 30 and they're telling everybody about how to live their life. And I'm just like, you're going to watch this in 10 years' time and go, what a dick you were.
Yeah.
Because I know the kind of shit I used to say and what I thought I had figured out when I was 30. And when I was 40, it was all different. Right? And now I'm 47, so I'm touching 50, and again, it's different again. And I'm just like, you know what, you guys, I understand where you're at. I'm listening to you talk to this broad spectrum of people on a podcast of all different age groups, but you're talking like you've been there, done absolutely everything in life, and giving out all this advice to what you think is the best advice to people of all ages, and you're just like, I'm listening to it going, I remember being a bit like that. I remember thinking I had it all figured out 10 years ago, and actually, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's so much more to this stuff, and I remember going through that phase of buying into working on the opposite side of yourself. So people go, what fuels your fire? You need to do the opposite, to almost put the fire out. That's how you chill, that's how you relax. And I'm just like, I tried all this stuff, and look, I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people. I just learned that accepting the way you are and accepting what you like, what you don't like, and getting to a point where you actually accept and make those things work for you and not against you is a much better approach and a much less stressful approach to working out how to live your whatever so-called best life, right? Because trying to change things that you can't fucking change is stressful. And especially if it's because you're being told that the way you do things and the way you're 100 mile an hour and it's not good for you. Like, well, how do you know it's not good?
Because it's not good for you doesn't mean it's not good for me.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's your experience of life. Maybe that's your experience of people you work with, and people should slow down here and there. It's like, you know what, I will probably naturally slow down. I am naturally slower in many things now than I was 20 years ago, right? So it happens, but just let shit happen. Yeah. You know, always be on the lookout for something different, something new. Do things that take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. I'm a big believer in that, but unfortunately, things that I enjoy that take me out of my comfort zone are probably going to be dangerous because I need excitement. I'm not good at doing something that, or I'm asleep. I'm there's nothing in the middle. I can't. It's no good doing things that relax me. Like I remember people going on about, everyone's into meditation nowadays, and that one kills me because I'm like, first of all, you're probably not really meditating. No, and it's like, this is my morning routine, and you should do my morning routine because this really sets you up for the day. And it's like, what? I ain't got time to sit and close my eyes for 5 minutes. And I know about meditation, right? I know what real meditation actually is and how it should be done. And I was forced, when going to the yoga stuff, I was forced to meditate every day for a month. By force, at least you were like, the whole class had to sit down, and you started like 5 minutes a day, and then it went to 10 minutes a day. And I think out of 30 days of sitting there, and this is amongst a group of people all doing it, so you're kind of buying in, and you are actually really trying. I think I went into some sort of what felt like maybe a meditative state for about a second, and then I thought of something and I was out of it. And I was like, was that meditation? Was it not? I don't know. And I've done by this point, exactly. Or did I actually fall asleep? And I have accumulated hours of it in a short space of time and gone, shit, this is hard. and using different ways. So there was the Rosemary bead way, where you count the beads, and this is supposed to take your mind off shit. There was like there's the what's it called when you say something to yourself? There's a word.
The mantra.
The mantra. So you have a mantra.
Thank you, Julian.
There was that version that kind of works quite well. But again, nowadays everyone's like meditate. It's like, okay, can we just like switch the terminology a little bit? Do I think probably sitting with the lights off for 5 minutes and just closing your eyes and trying to chill a bit is probably a good thing? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're not all of a sudden some meditative fucking guru that's actually sat in what you would call a proper meditative state.
Yeah.
That's a whole other world.
You're a white belt.
And it's a whole other level of training, right? Yeah. You're not Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I have a couple things to touch on.
Yeah.
The like the self-help people giving like help and thinking they know everything, because I'm going to be 30 in December.
Yeah.
But I feel like all of my friends have been very much older than me.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of mentors, and I've always looked for mentors, and because I feel that other people's experiences will help me through what I'm about to go through, whatever stage it is in my life. And I feel like I've experienced a lot, growing up in a really bad neighborhood, having been poor, going to college and leaving college to train full time, becoming an instructor, going through all the processes of jiu-jitsu, getting my black belt in karate, then becoming the kind of one of the antichrists of Kempo karate and a naysayer, right?
Yeah.
And so I've experienced a lot. So I've heard a lot of people's takes on life from an older view, and which I think is completely amazing. And then I've also heard people that are kind of at the same point in life as myself, and listening to them and thinking, man, you don't know. You don't know. And so it's always been a very strong viewpoint of myself to only spread kindness, because I feel like no matter which point in my life I'm in, that will matter the most. Respect and kindness. And I told this to Matt Thornton.
It's hard to get that wrong.
It's hard. I mean,
is also a good.
You
good
can
thinking.
get it wrong if you're a complete asshole.
Yeah.
But I told Matt Thornton when I had a meeting with him that it's my goal to be the Mr. Rogers of jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah.
I want to be this badass on the mats, but completely be kind and have a smile with it. And I remember I posted this photo with you, myself, and Chris Howder.
Yeah.
And you and Chris Howder look like total badasses. Like you guys just.
I can't smile on photos. I just don't unless you catch me. But the minute a camera's in front of me, I'm just like, I go like Shrek.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I don't know how to look, and I start looking all weird. I even see stuff myself. I'm like, do I really look like that? Like, is that me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a picture of me, so it must be. I mean, in my world, I'm a lot better looking than what pictures would suggest.
So I posted this photo, and I'm smiling like the goofball I am. And my dad texted me and was like, "I love that you can stand amongst the most badass people."
Yeah, those two miserable people you're still with,
and completely be yourself. And it was, and I've always just said that to my classes. Is be kind.
Every picture Danny's got this beaming smile. Like she smiles without smiling. She's just there. It's just this natural thing, and it's beautiful. But as I don't. So every picture we do together, like every single time there's comments like John looks happy. Yeah. I'm like, I am happy. It's just internal. I'm not very good with that expression.
You're also British.
And I'm British, yeah. So look, I don't.
I think the reason why I gravitated towards you and becoming a friend with you, and it was listening to your life experiences. And just like now we get to actually talk about it, right? Because I feel like I've gotten snippets of it, and I've kind of pieced them together.
Been around a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about.
So I mean, not everybody gets to talk to.
I'm at the point where I'm starting to actually forget stuff. There's been that much, and it's been it's like, okay, where do I actually remember my life started? At what age? At one point, it was like 5-6 years old. Now it's getting a lot further back. I'm like, maybe
when I was
12,
when I was
15?
born in 20.
Yeah.
But and listening to your life experiences and taking everything that you have to say to heart, because I don't take people's life experiences lightly, because it's something that you went through, and it's something that I feel like there's information there, right? Your successes and your failures, especially failures, I can listen to, so that way hopefully I don't have to make those same mistakes, and then hopefully I can pass that gift on to my students or whoever asks me for advice or help. And I think that's what makes us good coaches, is that we were there, we failed, and we put in the time.
I think,
and being able to share that gift with others. And when I started jiu-jitsu, and having Matt Parks as a purple belt instructor and having Jon Bond as a blue belt instructor, and then me eventually catching up to Jon and kind of figuring out jiu-jitsu together versus now being black belts and being able to give instruction to white belts, I've failed so many times, and now I can help you kind of skip those a little bit, and then you can fail on your own in new ways, but with a lot better help.
I was just going to say, you hit the nail on the head with the fail on your own in new ways, because that would be my, I guess, biggest take on, I guess, mentors, coaches, people that guide you over the years. I don't think you should really seek them out as such, or I think, although I do, people.
They kind of fall into place.
But good mentors tend to find you in the end. I mean, you're searching, but at the same time, it's almost a two-way thing. You go somewhere. I've never gone somewhere with the intention that person might turn out to be a mentor. When Carl became one of my best friends and absolutely a mentor in life and jiu-jitsu and fighting in general, many things. But it's not like I went there seeking that out. It just became that relationship, and I think, but as you said, I've had so much advice from amazing people throughout my career, but I have still failed a million fucking times.
Because you have to.
Because I don't listen, and most people don't. So you have these great people, and this is the thing, right? Especially nowadays, social media, everyone's searching for a mentor and a guru and saying you have to have this person. This is how you're gonna, because everyone wants to progress quicker, right? So okay, what's the best way to progress? Get a mentor, get someone that's been there. So I'm gonna do what they did because they were successful. It's like, but they failed a million times before they got there, and they can't teach you that. They can teach you the pitfalls, they can teach you what not to do, but it's no different than jiu-jitsu, right? You go, don't put your hand there. What?
Why don't I want to put my hand there?
I'm asleep. Fight the hands. Why fight the hands? I'm asleep. Well, so you're getting all this advice, and it's there, and it's great, but it's like, look, some of the best teachers are going to be failure
and pain.
And what you want is someone that can kind of, I guess, if you want to call them a mentor or you coaches or whatever, to be like, it's more like how many times are they going to have to tell you before you get it right. It's not that they're going to get you this perfect path where I go, if I do everything they say correctly, I will be this. It don't work like that. Because at some point, and again, it's human nature, you're still going to fucking try and do your own thing and then go, don't. But the amount of times I've given out what I think is like the best advice in the world probably isn't. But in my head, I'm like, I've been there, done this, trust me, please just do it this way. Yes, I will. They go off, do it the wrong way, fails. But they then come back and do it my way. Then they learn. And it's like, if it's took you to go 6 months that way to come back to do it my way to get good, great. Because you've really learned it. You've not just done it because I said so. There's a big difference in doing something because someone says so and learning it. Being told what to do is one thing. If you need telling, I have this conversation with lots of employees and people like, if you need telling what to do at every single stage of everything, then you're not learning. Because eventually you need to take ownership of things and do it for yourself. And then the two-way relationship between a manager or a coach or a mentor, whatever it be, starts to really take place. A mentor is not someone that just tells you what to do. That's a boss.
They guide you.
Just telling you is, and if you're constantly being told what to do, you're probably not learning, and you're probably not really into what it is you're trying to do or be, because you have to be told. And I grew up being like, I fucking hate being told what to do. And I think that's what drove me to go, you know what, I will do my best to. I learned this at a young age. If I had to have a meeting with my manager, I went in with everything I thought they were going to ask me ahead of time. So if I had to do a review, I'd be like, okay, right, what do they want to know? What are the financials like? What are the numbers been like? Well, I'm going to answer all that before you fucking answer me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't want to sit there and they go, why is this not that? Why is that not that? Well, I know why, so I'll tell you first, right? I've already done my homework. I know why things are the way they are. So allow me to tell you why it's not working and what I think we should do about it, rather than sit with this. I've never liked that me boss, you employee fucking relationship. I'm like, I'm a grown, when I was younger, yes, and a kid, but now I'm a grown adult and I'm a man. I'm like, look, I don't really have a boss anymore, but when I have had him, I respect that you're my boss, but you're still a human being, and I'm an adult, and nowadays I'm as old as some bosses and whatnot, so I'm kind of like, yes, you're you know, the bottom line stops with you, but I'm an adult and I can take responsibility and ownership of my own things, and that's what I try and, you know, get, you know, at least try and instill in my, you know, younger coaches and employees and people that are around me. It's like, look, I've got no issue with you failing at all, especially big fuck ups. I've got no problem with, like, what I don't like is bad habits. So don't be fucking late, because that's just being lazy. That's a bad habit, you know. Don't leave your shit all over the place. That's a bad habit, right? We've all made big. I don't believe anybody in life makes big fuck ups on purpose. Like, you know, if you, I've had trainers pull a fucking barbell out the ceiling, right? Hit a fucking water sprinkler and flood the gym.
Oh my God.
Right? Is there any point in telling that person off?
No.
Like, you know, did they do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Has that just caused us a full day of fucking mopping up? Yes. Bit of a pain in the arse, but that guy already feels pretty fucking bad. So being the dickhead boss that goes, da, 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 like, look what you've just fucking done, look what you've caused, look what you've cost me, gets no one anywhere. Yep. If that person doesn't feel bad about that, they have an issue, right?
They're not going to do it again.
And they're not, yeah. So I've always been this big believer, like, look, big fuck ups, we acknowledge, it depends on what it was, we laugh, and you fucking learn. I'm pretty sure you're not going to do that again. Yeah. What fucks me off is little things. Yep. Little consistent things that you're like, you know better, we've had this discussion, you're not learning. You're not learning that you need not to be that. And again, with lateness and things like that, it's not about me being, it's like, I'm in the customer service industry. Yeah. You keep being late for that client, I'm going to lose business. And it's just not cool. So don't do it, right? That's where I'm at with that.
I'm on the opposite end because I'm the youngest coach here.
Yeah.
But I'm also the head instructor and the owner.
Yeah.
So all of my coaches and employees are all older than me. And so people get like weirded out when they see that.
Yeah.
But then they work with me and then they realize.
Yeah.
So.
Well, luckily, I think older employees get things a bit more. They can be a bit stuck in their own ways, but at least in this environment, it's like they know what they're coming here to do.
It also helps
so there's
knowing
slightly less
that
dramas.
It also helps knowing that I can probably kill everybody in the room. So
that helps.
Yeah.
I do thrive off that a little bit sometimes. Maybe a little bit too much, but anyway. There'll be a day I can't.
Yeah, but you're intimidating.
You know,
I'm not.
There'll be a day that will happen. I'll be like 87 years old, fucking, you know, frame, walking around the gym, being like, back in my day, and they'll be like, shut up, John.
Yeah. Go back to your corner, Grandpa.
I don't give a fuck how many stripes you've got on your black belt. You can barely walk.
That just means you're old now.
Yeah. Hey, you got me.
Well, thanks, man. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, that was good. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.